So today we're going to discuss a number of things, including how online programs allow you to work less while generating more revenue. That might be one reason why a lot of you are here. Maybe you've maxed out on how much you can offer your one-on-one services, and now you're looking for a way to lift that ceiling and be able to serve more people and increase your income. We're going to talk about 4 steps for designing an online program that your customers can't wait to buy. So I'll give you 4 specific steps that you can follow to put together a program that's going to be profitable as well as impactful for your customers. We're going to talk about how to launch an online program and bring in extra cash in a matter of weeks. So I'll give you, this is something that a lot of people overlook, though it uses a very common methodology that very successful startups use in order to bring products to market. So I'm going to share that with you too. And we're talking about how to launch an online program without any tech knowledge or investing in expensive media production. I'm trying to make this as simple as possible for you because I know a lot of people get intimidated by the idea of putting a program online, especially if they might have to record audio and video and other media and things like that. And the truth is you can get something out to the market in a much simpler way than that. So this is for you if you're a coach, a consultant, a service provider, and you're looking for new ways to scale your reach and income. And just a little bit about me, just a minute or two here. First of all, I created my first course back in 2004 and made 8K in one day. And that's when I was sold. I was sold on the idea of packaging up my expertise. I was a marketing consultant at the time. I made a course specifically for real estate investors to help them use direct mail to put their deals together, find buyers and find sellers, and invited 25 people, each paying, I guess you can do the math, and it ended up with 8K. And I was like, wow, that was amazing. I got to share my expertise and teach and made a good paycheck in one day doing it at the same time. And since then, I've done a lot with online programs and courses. I founded and ran an educational company, an accelerator called Internet Business Mastery. Is a program for emerging entrepreneurs, started in 2005 and ran that for 11 years. And then I stepped away to do some consulting. That was working with emerging entrepreneurs for a long time. And now what I do now is I work with coaches and consultants and service providers, with your thought leaders and experts, to help them package up their expertise into scalable online programs, which is what we're talking about here today, right? I've taught since then over 10,000 clients and customers and generated multiple 7 figures in revenue selling online programs. I've designed and launched, I lost count, but I know it's at least 60 online courses and programs in that time since I did my first one back in 2004. So I'm speaking from experience here and also bringing you a lot of the best practices that I found that I use with working with my clients actively today and helping them bring group programs and online courses, digital programs, things like that to the internet. So what we're going to start out talking about first is when to launch an online program and why, because that might be a question that you're bringing to the table here today and wondering, is this for me? Is this the right timing? Maybe this is something to wait for later, or maybe this is something I should hop on right away. So I've got a few points for you to consider here. When to launch an online program and why. First reason might be that you've maxed out on how many clients you can serve. And that's a great position to be in when you're a coach, consultant, or service providers. Have so many clients that you've booked up as many as you can. Leads are still coming in, but you can't say yes because there's only so much of your time and energy that you can sell. And so you've reached a ceiling in your reach and income. And maybe you want to lift that ceiling and now be able to serve more people, expand your impact, and also scale your revenue higher than you would be able to selling your time for money. Number 2, if you're attracting lots of leads and maybe those leads aren't ready to work with you on a regular basis. And so you've got these people coming in and maybe it's like, hey, to really do my work with you, you need to be at this place and whatever it is that you help them with, and they're just not there yet. So an online course can be a great way to prepare people, to bring people in, prepare them to be able to pay your higher fees as a service provider. And so that's another reason you might want to consider launching an online program. The third one is if you want to increase or extend the lifetime value of each client. So lifetime value is how much value you deliver to somebody over the lifetime that they're doing business with you, that they're within your orbit and paying you for your expertise. And also the amount of money then that you generate from every customer that comes in. And obviously, if you only have, a couple of services that you offer, but you want to be able to offer other things as well, maybe either before or after or in between engagements with you, then online programs are a great way to increase, again, delivery of value as well as the amount of money that you're making for each customer that you bring in to your business. The fourth reason you might want to consider or the fourth time might want to consider, so that the when and the why are kind of combined here, is to offer something unique within your industry. Maybe you're just seeing an opportunity. I mean, with COVID and pandemic, a lot of online learning has really exploded because people were forced to do that. I've helped a number of clients to bring stuff that was traditionally services and courses and workshops and things that they traditionally did offline. And of course, the moment that things went into lockdown back in 2020, they were scrambling to find new ways to serve their clients. And despite a big shakeup like COVID, you might just be looking at your marketplace and going, you know what, there's really a unique opportunity here to offer something different if I had online programs. I bet there are not a lot of real estate agents out there offering an online program, but that could actually be a way to differentiate yourself. Is maybe you have a course specifically for the first-time home buyer, and when they go through that course, they learn the things that they need to know, and obviously by the end of that course, they're going to choose you as their agent the moment that they're ready. I just give that as one example of somebody who might use an online program as a sort of unique value proposition that they bring to their marketplace. And then the final reason is if you want to simply adopt a new business model that maybe better aligns with your vision or your strengths, your goals, or the market that you're in. I've had clients who come to me and say, you know what, I love doing what I do, but I can't be out there doing 150 speaking engagements every year anymore. I can't be out there teaching workshops on site with all of my clients. I want to spend more time at home with my family, with my kids, doing other things. So I'm looking for new ways to serve my clientele, to serve my customers that don't require me to have to do those things. And so they're looking to shift their business model altogether. And that's a legitimate reason also to consider adding this to your offer, to the suite of offers that you put out there into the marketplace. So that answers our question about the when and the how to launch online program, or when and why to launch an online program. And the rest of this presentation, what I want to do is dig into the how to launch an online program. And to help you do that, I've come up with a 4-part framework. I'm a big fan of frameworks, frameworks that are based on proven principles, but then also allow you to bring in those things that are unique to you and apply them so that you end up with something that fits well for your business, your goals, your vision, your marketplace. And so that's what I'm gonna give you today, is this 4-step framework that then you can apply in order to design a profitable and impactful online program for any of those reasons that we've already discussed earlier. So the first one is, and we're going to go into these in more in depth. I'm just going to give a quick overview here, is you want to identify, well, who is that ideal intended customer for the program or the course that you're building? And I'm going to go ahead and just use online course for the rest of this presentation, but that could look like a digital online course that people go through themselves. It could look like a group program where you're teaching 30 people online at the same time, or even bigger than that, 150 plus membership site that also provides your expertise through that format. But I'll just use online course as a catch-all phrase. And so the first step is to know who is your intended customer for that offer, for that online course that you want to put out into the marketplace. It's got to start there. It's got to be customer centric. And this is just a good, sound principle for any startup. One of the biggest reasons that startups fail is that they don't address an actual need that people are aware of and looking for a solution to right now. Actively looking for that solution. They have time and money and energy to invest into that solution. And so if you start with finding that intended ideal customer that you want to serve, and the good news is as service providers, you're probably already serving them or some subset of those customers and clients right now, but we want to get very clear on that. So then we can go to them and through good, what we call customer discovery. Another great practice of the successful startup is doing customer discovery and going and interviewing and talking to the people that they serve in order to really find out what is your experience, what's top of mind for you, what's the language you use right now when you're talking about your unfulfilled needs and your unfulfilled goals and the burning pains that you want to overcome and the challenges that you're trying to figure a way around. Those are then going to turn into the outcomes for your online program so that you make sure that you're attending to top of mind desires and needs of your intended market. And when you get that right, when you choose the right intended market and you do the research to figure out, well, what are their highly desirable outcomes that they're going for here, you've got a great idea for a course that's worth, at the very least, beta testing. And we're going to go into that in a little bit more in depth. The third thing that you need then is designing your signature process. And again, you might already have this as somebody who serves people as a service provider, as a coach, as a consultant. You've got the person that you work with, and they're right here where they're at right now, and there's a place that they want to be, a thing they want to fulfill or overcome or become, and there's a gap in between, and you've got some process for walking them through that. It might be teaching them some knowledge gaps that they have. It might be helping them implement things. It might be doing some things for them. But whatever if that bridge is across that gap, whether you've taken the time to formalize it or think about exactly what those steps are, you probably have a process that over time, over serving a number of different clients, that you've fallen into, like, this is the toolkit. These are the things. This is what works for getting my ideal person to that ideal outcome that they want to reach. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the fourth thing is to decide, okay, well, what am I going to wrap that signature process in as an experience? And you're already doing this right now as a service provider. I'm guessing that most of you, maybe it's whether it's just through freelancing or consulting or coaching or one-to-one services, or maybe teaching an in-person workshop or on-site training for your clients. There's some experience that you're already using for the delivery of those services right now. And what we're going to be looking at is like, okay, well, what's a new type of experience that you can wrap around a process that you already do for your current market, but just now put it maybe as a digital course or an online group program that a number of people go through at the same time, or a membership site, or whatever the case may be. And we'll look at that a little bit more too. So those are the 4 steps we're going to dig into: how to define your intended customer, how to define their ideal outcomes, how to define your signature process, and then how to best define the experience that's going to work for you. So one thing I want to point out before I move forward is, even though I'm talking about online courses, online programs here, the truth of the matter is this 4-step process right here is a good process for designing any offer. Even if it's your freelance design offer as a designer, even if it's your consulting services as a personal finance, personal finance manager, whatever you might do for your clients there. It's the same process if you're, a life coach or a therapist or whatever is that. You want to be thinking about the intended customer, their ideal outcomes. What's my signature process for getting them across the gap that's between them and their goal? And what kind of experience do I need to wrap this in order to be as enticing as possible to them, be efficient with my time, meet my business goals, but also meet the needs of my marketplace while getting them results at the same time. So whether you're thinking about doing an online program right now or not, there's a lot that you can pull out of these 4 steps right here. And I just wanted to point that out before we go into it in more depth. Okay, so first step is define your intended customer segment. Now, I say intended customer segment because we're talking here to service providers who ostensibly, you all have your companies right now. You're already serving customers in one way or another. And your digital offer or your online program that you want to create and launch for them, it may be for the exact same market and you're just looking for a new way or a different way to serve that exact same market, or it might be for a more specific segment of that market. So for instance, you might decide, I'm going to create an online course for those people who show up in my world. They end up as a lead. We end up in a conversation. They end up on my email list or in my database or as a contact, but they're not ready to work for me or work with me. And they don't have maybe the money yet to pay me or whatever the case may be. Maybe they have a few more steps to go through before they're ready for my services. So you might decide, hey, that's the person that my online course is, that segment that I'm not able to serve well right now. Or you might decide that the customer segment you want to serve for your market, as a market for your online program, is people who've already gone through one engagement with you and now you're looking for some kind of ongoing maintenance thing where you can give them additional support and ongoing pertinent information without it having to be this one-to-one engagement that costs them a lot of money and takes up more time than maybe you have because you have other clients coming in to work with as well. So you want to be specific about what segment of your market. Are you looking to maybe serve a slightly different or newer audience? So again, it might be a Venn diagram that's the exact same circle of the people you serve now. It might be a slightly different, or it might be a subset within that circle. And I just want you to be thinking about that. And all kind of depends on, well, what are the goals that you have in creating this online program and this online course? And so if you get clear about this, it's going to make everything else a lot easier as we move forward. Now, of course, we're not going to go into this a lot because there's a lot that can be said about defining your customer segment, but I just want to go through a few criteria that I always use. Even when I'm working with somebody who's already been serving clients for years and getting great results and maybe even has a bit of a brand as a recognized expert out there in the world, it's always good to revisit this on occasion and check back in with, am I attracting the people I want to work with best? Uh, are these the people that I can get the best results for? Am I still pulling in some clients that aren't my ideal clients, and really it ends up being kind of an energy drain for me and not ideal for them? So it's always good to check back in with these things, even if you have been serving the same clientele for a while. So the first thing, of course, for defining them, obvious one would be demographics, things like gender and sexuality, age, location, etc. And of course, well, what is their profession? Who do they work for? Or I'm sorry, what do they do for work? What title might they have? I have a client, for instance, who works very specifically with vice presidents of companies who want to get to the C-suite, and they need help making the leap in their career to get there, right? So that's somebody who's a very specific profession, a very specific level of experience, which is a third criteria you might consider. How many years of experience do they have? What skills have they already mastered in order to be ready to work with you? Number 4, types of life experiences maybe that they've already been through. So you might be thinking about, for instance, I'm trying to think here of an example. Like this might be, maybe you're specifically a therapist for people who, or some kind of a coach that specifically works with people who've had chronic pain for a very long time, right? So you're looking for people who've already been dealing with it for a while, and now they're looking for new ways of, like, they're at that state of, or that in that position where they're realizing this might be part of my life moving forward, and I need somebody to help me know how to deal with this chronic pain or illness that I'm dealing with. So what types of life experiences might they have been through or going through right now in order to be the ideal client or customer for your work? What point in the journey are they at, right? So for instance, this could be if you're working with people and helping them investing. It could be that you are working. I had a client who worked specifically with women. I don't know if you know that, but women are proven to be better investors and to get better returns, but they're like a small percentage of the people who are out there investing, and that obviously needs to be fixed, right? So that was her focus. How do I help more women get into investing? Or you might be like, hey, I specifically work with people who are at a point in the journey where they've already got some crypto, they've already got some stocks, they've got this, and maybe and now I'm helping them manage that whole portfolio. So it's being very specific about which type of person you're going to be working with. So again, you can dial into what are the outcomes that person needs. And if you're trying to serve too many different types of people or trying to hit too many different types of outcomes, particularly when it comes to making an online program, then it's going to be unclear in the messaging who's it for, what it's going to do for them. And it's also going to be confusing to them as to whether or not that program's actually for them. They're going to be less likely to say yes to it. So that's why we want to get very specific about this. And if you think even in your own services right now, you can get away with it as a freelancer, working with people one-on-one, to be a little bit more of a jack of all trades, and like, oh, if this person needs this outcome, then I'll figure out how to make it work for them. And if this person needs that outcome, okay, yeah, I'll make it work for you. But then you're getting spread in all these different places, as opposed to having that one very specific signature process that takes this person across this gap to get to that outcome. And that's what we want to have defined, because if you're going to create an online program that people can go through on their own or in a more scalable way, and you want, bumping my microphone, and you want to help them get consistent results out of that program, then you have to get specific about this. Otherwise, it's not going to sell, it's not going to get results, it's going to confuse the market, and it'll dilute your brand at the same time as well. So another thing that you might think about is what kind of resources do they need to have available to them? Do they need to have access to a certain amount of money or time or connections? Do they have a team already in order to be ready to work with you or go through this online program? Do they need certain supplies or equipment? Are they going to be expected to buy those things before going through your online program? Okay, so now we've talked about the intended customer and narrowing down to who that segment is for your online program. Now we want to dive into, well, what are the outcomes that they want? And you probably already have a good idea of this. If you're already working as a service provider, as an expert, a coach, a consultant with a specific clientele, then you've heard all the different outcomes that they are coming to you asking for. Like, here are the deliverables I'm looking for. Here are the changes I'm looking for in my life. Here's the goal that I haven't reached yet. I want a better golf score so I can impress my friends on the golf course. I want, I want to know how to manage my anxiety better so it doesn't hold me back in life. And what are those outcomes? And again, especially when it comes to an online program, it needs to be very clear what they're going to achieve, what they're going to become, what they're going to have, what's going to be possible for them on the other side of going through that online program, and in order for them to say yes to buying that program. And the best way for us to figure out what are those outcomes that they want, that they're aware of, that they're actively looking for, and that they're ready and able to invest time, money, energy, and other resources into reaching and in order to realize and achieve those outcomes. That's what you need to define. And if you haven't gotten that down very specifically, then again, it's going to dilute the message. So what does that mean, getting a little more specific about identifying the outcomes? Well, this is also what we might call your value proposition. And again, whether this is for an online course or program, or whether you're just thinking about this in general for the things that you offer right now, the services that you offer right now, this is really important to get specific on. And I have broken down value proposition into a number of different places. I just want to check really quickly here. I keep getting a message that there's people in the waiting room. So I'm going to let a bunch of these people in because I want them to be able to, I don't know, maybe I'm not supposed to be doing that, but I just keep getting a message saying 8 people are waiting. So don't want them to miss that. So welcome everybody who just got admitted in. Okay, so I've broken down value proposition into 5 different areas. The first one is just results, measurable results. What are the things like the metrics that they're going to receive? Is their bank account going to go up? Are they going to save money? Are they going to save time? Are they going to, for instance, I had a client who works with videographers and helps them to be more efficient with their workflow so that each project takes less time. So therefore they're making more money per project and able to take on more clients. So that's a specific result. You'll be able to take on more clients. You're going to make more money for every hour that you put into things. So results, that's one area they have value proposition. Number 2, transformation. How will they be different? How will they think different? How are they going to do things differently? People invest in transformations. They want to feel like a better version of themselves on the other end of whatever it is that you're going to help them do. So what kind of transformations do you offer? And this is worth thinking about each of these different areas. And it's not just one of these areas. You should probably have outcomes in every one of these 5 areas that I'm going to list out here for you in whatever service or online program that you offer. The third category is relief. They might be looking for relief from mental or emotional or physical symptoms or pains that they might have. So they're trying to remove those things from their life. They're trying to go away from, say, anxiety and stress. Maybe they're trying to go away from some kind of adverse health thing that they're dealing with. Maybe they're trying to go get relief from the physical effects. Like as people get older, maybe they're looking for relief from being more easily injured as our bodies age. And so, maybe you teach, you're a yoga instructor, or, you teach some kind of modality that helps people to have that relief from the kinds of things that happen with aging, whether that's, more easily injured or, your muscles aren't as flexible as they used to be and so forth. The fourth thing the fourth area is capabilities. What kind of capabilities are you going to add to their life once they go through your program or your offering? So for instance, if you are a career coach and you're helping people specifically define their dream job and figure out how to land that dream job, with the resume and the interview and even where to look for the job opportunities. Well, that's a capability you're adding to them by them going through your process that we talked about, by them going through your online course, is that they will be better prepped to find more of these opportunities out there, their job opportunities. So this could be capabilities or options that open up to them as well, thanks to your signature process that you take them through. And then the fifth one is extremely important because really in the end, this is what drives our buying behaviors, our fundamental human needs. They're fundamental human needs that we all share. So for instance, we all have a need for freedom. We all have a need for safety, for belonging, for recognition, and there are other ones like that as well. People will pay for status. People will pay to feel safer. People will pay to feel connected and like they're one of others out there. What is it that you do that facilitate, what are these needs that you facilitate and what you do? It's really easy to think about, okay, yeah, I sell an iPhone and it's got all these features and, it's got a such and such camera on it and it's got a, however big of a storage on it and things like that. But, one reason or two big reasons we buy an Apple product is there's status And it also helps us connect with others, right? Some people might buy an iPhone or any phone for that matter because it helps them feel safe to have a certain kind of phone when they're out and about. If they need to, check for transit or call somebody or hit the emergency button or whatever, right? So what is the equivalent with your product or service of those fundamental human needs, and how are you helping them to fulfill those in their life? So these are the 5 different areas for outcomes, for value proposition. And I mentioned briefly that, and I do a whole other presentation on that customer discovery, or going and talking to people in your ideal market, is the best way to figure out what are the things that they want when it comes to results, transformation, relief, capabilities, needs. You probably have some idea already because you've worked with some people and you've gotten them results, and maybe you yourself are a version of the person that you help. So in your own personal experience, maybe you know what these things are, but it's also really important to go out there and talk to people as well. So that is the second area. We've talked about identify your intended customer for the online program. Know very specifically, so it has to be specific, who's a specific intended customer and the specific outcome. And again, it has to be specific, because if you're going to be delivering this in a way where you're not always present one-on-one in order to do all the nuanced stuff to help them be able to reach that outcome, now you need to be able to package it up in a specific signature process that even if somebody went through it on their own, they would still be able to get results out of it. And doing that is going to require being very specific about these 2 elements, the intended customer and the ideal outcomes that they want. So now that we have the intended customer, the ideal outcomes they want, we know that there's a gap in between, and that's the thing that's keeping them back from achieving those outcomes. Now we want to define what's that bridge, what's that signature process that takes them from point A, where they're at right now, to point B, where they'd like to be. And again, you're probably already doing this if you've been a startup with services that you're providing right now, and you've been actively working with clients and getting them results. Maybe you haven't taken time to really think through exactly what your process is, or maybe you have. I mean, they tend to be earlier on in working with clients and services. We're probably experimenting and trying a lot of different things out, and then over the years it kind of settles into something that we might then just optimize as time moves forward. But this is one of the most important assets that you can create for your business, because when you create a signature process, now you have a thing that you can slice and dice and repackage in a number of different ways easily to deliver the same results to the same types of customers that you've been working with. So right now you might have some kind of one-to-one offering as a coach, as a consultant, as some kind of freelancer, and that's a very direct way of packaging up your signature process. It's more high touch. You're going to be more nuanced in your approach. They're going to be paying a premium for that because it involves your time and your expertise. Or you could also take that signature process and write a book that gives an overview of that signature process. And now that's that thing out in the marketplace that's developing your personal brand or the brand of your company. You could maybe slice off a piece of the signature process and create a presentation. This presentation right here is an overview of one of my signature processes that I use with my clients, for instance. So defining this signature process will impact your business in a number of ways, and not just in helping you to launch some kind of scalable online program, but also because it's an asset that you can use and reuse and repackage in a variety of different ways. And when you formalize that, it becomes a lot easier to do that. Okay, so what does this mean to map out your signature process? Well, what I do is when I work with my clients is we look at, who are their, who's their ideal customer and what's that outcome that we're going to create the online program for. And then we just start talking through, well, what are the milestones that the customer has to reach or will reach along the way to that outcome? And by milestone, I mean, there are these points in the process along the way where they're going to be seeing something happening, some kind of result. They're having an aha moment. They're creating something and putting it out in the world. They're seeing a finished product. They're seeing some of those results show up. They're starting to notice the transformation, whatever the case may be. And this is how you create a course that is motivating for people to move through, is that you give them achievable milestones along the way, things that they will want to celebrate along the way, and you break your process down into those remarkable milestones that are already part of your process. See if I think I have an example here. Okay, great. So let's say that you're somebody who works with people on reducing stress. Maybe you do this by going into companies and helping them with their employees to reduce stress. Maybe you offer this as a coaching practice, and now you're looking to make it a process that you can put in some kind of online program. So what might that look like? Well, you might break it up into milestones that look like this. The first milestone might be, we're going to assess the stressors and symptoms that you're dealing with in your life so that we can address what's going on personally for you. Number two, we're going to teach you how to practice some more awareness about the stress that you're experiencing and these triggers and when this comes up, so that you can take an opportunity to make different choices about the stress that you're experiencing. Then we're going to go and start talking about specific skills for reducing stress, how to increase your resilience. So when stress happens, it doesn't immediately take you to this overwhelming place. You got more of a window to make a different decision. Then we're going to teach you how to reduce stress using mindfulness skills, maybe things like meditation, things like that. And then the last milestone will be, now we're going to reduce your stress using cognitive strategies, maybe things like cognitive behavioral therapy exercises and stuff like that. So this is what it might look like for somebody who's got an ideal client who maybe they've decided, I work with companies where there's a lot of high stress, it's affecting productivity, it's affecting retention, and I go in and I teach their employees how to manage stress better. So the outcome is they want to have less stress, increased well-being. In this case, it might be increased productivity as well, better retention is what the outcome that the company is looking for. That's what they're bringing you in for. And these are the specific milestones that you would walk people through on their way to reaching that ideal outcome. And so each one of these would be a module of your online program. And a module might be a collection of videos. It might be a collection of videos and PDFs. It might be a Zoom call where you're just teaching this one specific thing during that session, and then these things on the next session, and then these things in the third session, and so forth. But now we're seeing how we're organizing your course at the same time as we are defining what your signature process is for helping people reach the desired outcome. Let's see, I have one more example. So this would be if you work with people on their personal finances, for instance, maybe some kind of money coach or a personal finance advisor. And so the outcome, so let's say that you're working with people who, maybe you're, I don't know, a debt coach or something like that. And one of the first things you want to help people to do is, well, get their budget under control. And so you think, well, hey, this would be a great program that I could offer, is how to get your budget under control, so you know what's going out and what's coming in, and then we can start making decisions about how to pay down your debt. So the modules might look like this. Okay, the first one would be, how do we set you up for success? So what tools do we need to bring together? They probably need to go and gather all of their bank statements and stuff, so you can see the different types of expenses. And so getting prepared, that's a great milestone, because people are looking at everything they need and they're ready to move forward. And then the next milestone might be, you're creating a first draft of the budget, and then helping them set up and track the budget, maybe inside of Mint or in a spreadsheet or something like that. And then the fourth milestone might be, hey, now that we've got it set up, there are going to be some pitfalls you're going to run into. So how do we prepare you to watch out for those pitfalls and overcome them, so your budget doesn't get, so we don't, fall aside from, fall off the cart, so to speak, of following your budget. So just giving you a couple examples here of outcome and the types of milestones that you might break it into. And again, this becomes then a signature process. Like, you have your particular way as an expert of teaching this piece and doing this piece and doing the tools that you use, the stories that you use, the processes that you teach, the way that you, the values that you bring to the table as you're teaching these things. And it becomes your signature process for helping people reach that ideal outcome at the end. And then we're not going to go into this much more, but in terms of how it might be organized online in an online course, you might think of these as modules, 1, 2, 3, 4 modules. And within each of those modules is a set of lessons. And each lesson might be a video or an audio or a PDF or an exercise that they go through in order to reach that outcome. So that's the signature process piece right here. How do you get them from point A, where they're at, to point B, where they'd like to go? I'm going to mention really quickly that I'm going to come back and check out the chat here. I just want to get through this information, but I am going to address questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in there in the chat box, and I'll come check out what you have what's on your mind, because I definitely want to address those as well. So once you have the signature process laid out, now we're going to decide what's the experience that we're going to wrap that process in. Okay, what's the experience we're going to wrap it in? So this is how you're delivering the value. And right now, as a actually, I'll hold off on saying that. Let me go through these three parts, and then I'll share what I was about to say. So there are three things to think about when it comes to defining the experience of your online program. The first one is, what's the platform through which the information is going to be delivered? So right now, if you're a coach or consultant or service provider, it might be through phone calls, through in-person meetings. It might be that you're doing stuff and then delivering it to them, right? So that's, through one-on-one services, there's certain specific things we use there. But with the second, so the platform, but then on the other end of the spectrum, you might have a digital course that people go through on their own, right? And that's like the opposite end of the spectrum. So one-on-one, totally nuanced. And then on the other end is like your digital course. They go through it on their own. Maybe they don't even get access to you. Maybe because, you just don't have more time to give. You're focused on your one-on-one clients, for instance. So that's the first question. What's the platform for delivering it? The information. Number two is, what kind of support are you going to offer them? So this is, do they get access to you? Do they get access to each other? Do they get access to people who work for you? Is there Q&A calls? So what kind of things is going to be there? Because, it's one thing to give them a digital course, but often in order to get to the right results, they're probably going to be additional means of support that they're going to need to make sure that they stay on track and that they stay accountable and they get the thing done, right? Then the third one is community. Are they going to get access to each other? And if you can bring people together, connecting, that have a similar goal they're trying to reach at the same time as they're going through a process that you've designed for them, that's an incredibly powerful value proposition to put out there. In addition to just your expertise and whatever support comes along with that expertise. In fact, I've had people pay me for programs just because they want to get access. They told me, it's because of the people that you attract and bring together that I sign up for your programs, because I know every time I do, I'm going to meet some fascinating people that are going to, we're going to be able to exchange things about what we're doing and what's working and what's not working and hold each other accountable. So this is a powerful thing to offer as well. So how do they access the information and the value? How do they get support? And then the third thing is, how do they get community or connection with each other? Those are the three parts of the experience. So this is what I started saying earlier. You have the one end of the spectrum where it's one-to-one consulting. You're doing it with them. You're maybe doing it for them. They're getting, high priced, more nuanced kind of thing. This end of the spectrum over here is the digital product. Just do it on your own. You buy it. They might be buying it when it's 2 a.m. and you're asleep and they're on the other side of the world and they're just going to go through it and get the results themselves. Or there's a middle ground here as well, where maybe there are group Q&A calls or a Slack group where people connect, or they get some email access to you. Or there are a lot of ways that you can offer some support from you without it taking up as much time as one-to-one services. And so that's what makes it more scalable, is you're able to offer your support and expertise in a way that doesn't require as much of your time, but still delivers the same kind of results that people are looking for. All right, so let's talk about the platform piece right here. And this is probably one a lot of you are wondering about. What's the platform, Jason? I see all these things out there that say, hey, we will help you put your online course up on the internet. So which one is going to be the right one for you? So there are three types of platforms. The first one is your beta platform. And this is, I said, hey, this is how you can get something to market very quickly without an investment of a lot of tech or time or things like that. It's going to be just do a beta course that's like Zoom, for instance. Use a Google Drive that stores the files without, you don't even need a fancy course platform. In fact, I've sold $3,000 courses with nothing more than a Google Doc that said, here's what the course is about. Here's a PayPal link to pay for it. It's going to be 8 weekly Zoom calls, and all of the recordings and files and documents that go with it are going to be in this folder on Google Drive. And I highly recommend going about this way because you can get it to market faster, and you're going to be able to prove that people want it, bring some money in, get some early testimonials, refine the process, and then put it into its more long-term form after that. But once you've beta tested, then what can you do to get your program online? Well, there are a lot of great hosted platforms out there, startups who have created services where you sign up and they'll host your videos. They help you very easily put your course together and organize it, and help you manage your students as they're coming in and who gets access to what and all those things. And I give two examples right here of ones that I use and recommend. Experienceify and MemberVault are two that I really enjoy. And then eventually you might look at a custom platform where you're using WordPress and something, a plugin like LearnDash and a customized theme. But I only recommend going that route once you've had something, a program online that's been selling for a while, and now you've reached a point where it's like, you know what, there are really some specific things we want to do that we haven't been able to do with our current, hosted platform over here. And so now it's worth investing that time and money into something that's more custom. So the big takeaway here is the first time you put a program out there, do something that's quick and beta and easy. And then after that, just pay your monthly hosting. You've anywhere from like $30 to $100 a month. You can get something that's really good for hosting your online program. And I give you a couple of examples right there. All right, types of support that you might offer access to you. Might be that you deliver live trainings yourself, and then also you offer Q&A at the end of those trainings, or maybe separate Q&A calls. It might be that you give them a bit of access to you through email or text or a voice messaging app like Voxer or something like that. Maybe they get to submit some things for review or feedback, but you're able to batch these things together, and it's not like working with one-on-one clients. It's where 30 students all send you a worksheet and you just look through them really quickly for any feedback, and in a half an hour you've addressed the needs and support of 30 people as opposed to 30 one-on-one clients, right? Maybe offering accountability where you match people up for accountability, or you have them submit their goals somewhere, and then that they're followed up on those goals by you or somebody on your team. I repeated live training and Q&A. Maybe that's just because that's a good one, just a mistake there. Maybe they get a certain number of one-on-one calls. Maybe it's not the same as working with you as a one-on-one client, but when they go through this program, maybe just once a month, they get to hop on a phone call with you for 15, 20, 30 minutes and just check in with you, ask a few personalized things. So these are some of the ways that you can offer support to go along with an online program. Remember, we talked about it being the platform, the type of support, and then the type of community that you offer. So what are some ways you can offer community? You could offer a mastermind. So this is, for instance, I do this with a lot of my courses where people who are taking the course, they get together and I facilitate in the group. Everybody gets a hot seat, for instance. They get to bring a problem for the group to think about. And everybody, gives their recommendations, their ideas, their connections, their tools. And there's a lot of value in giving a mastermind type environment along with your program. Maybe you offer accountability groups, Facebook group or Slack workspace, or something where people can interact with each other. Maybe there's an in-person event at the end of the course where you all get together and celebrate what they've achieved. Maybe there are co-working sessions. This has been very popular in my programs lately because the people who are learning this stuff, they want to be able to do this stuff, and then to hold them accountable, they like to know that they could show up on a Friday at noon, and a few of the other people in the course are going to be there just working at the same time as them and getting stuff done. So I've been going through this in a whirlwind. We've talked very quickly about intended customer, outcome, the signature process, and the experience. And when you go with these four things in that order right there, that's how you design a profitable and impactful online program that will allow you then to scale your expertise, the impact of your expertise, the reach of your brand, as well as the income. It's kind of like a Lyft driver. You've got, they could have one driver driving one person, or you might have a share ride, right? Where three people are all in that Lyft car, and that Lyft driver is getting paid for all three of those people as opposed to just the one. Now, just imagine that in an online program where you've got 15, 20, 30 people, or a digital program where you've got 50, 100, 150 people that could buy it at any given time. That's what we're going for, is designing some kind of program that unhooks from your time having to be such a direct input into the system in order for you to make money and get people's results, and designing is as something that can be offered out in the world in a way that's not so dependent on that time and energy, and that can be even licensed or delegated or outsourced. And we didn't get to any of that stuff today, but there are a lot of possibilities for being able to scale this type of thing. So let me go ahead and I'll leave this up for just a second. I don't want to make sure I haven't missed any important questions here. I know there's been some stuff going on. Okay, there's people saying hi. Okay, I had some experience in advising entrepreneurs on how to grow their startup. How do I know if I have what it takes to make people pay for my advice? What if my method doesn't work? This is a great question. So If you are, let's say, earlier in providing your expertise, then the first thing you need to do, because what I've been going through here assumes that you already are working with somebody, you've been working with some clients, getting some results, and have an idea of, who your person is, what their outcomes are, what your process is. If you're more in the early stages of things, you can go back through this program right here, and like I said, use it to design your one-to-one service. And what I recommend you do is go and work for get a client that works with you for free if you want to prove that you can get some results. Go find somebody that fits all the criteria and take them through, a process and figure out and use that as a feedback and let them know. It's like, look, I'm starting this new business. I'm refining a process. I want to help, people like you to get to this result there, and just co-create that with them. And you might have to make adjustments along the way, and then go do it with a second person and a third person, or maybe you charge beta pricing because you're new at doing it. But whatever you got to do to go find those people and start testing out a process to get an outcome, make sure, you just get out there and you find some people, whether it's through your network, whether it's online, through advertising, whatever the case may be. But that would be my recommendation. The way that is you just start beta testing it in the market. And if you haven't done it one-on-one with people, that means beta test it one-on-one first. Okay. Okay, someone else saying, I'd love to do this for my business. I tested it on YouTube and I have 138 subs. I'm not complaining, I'm grateful for those. But if interest is low when it's free, how do I get people to pay my fee? Well, I wouldn't take that as an indication that interest is low. Without looking at it and knowing more, it doesn't mean necessarily that because look, like YouTube, there's so much stuff there, and getting found on YouTube, posting to YouTube and getting found on YouTube are two different things, right? And so it's just a good old question of marketing and promotion. And we didn't have time I could do a whole presentation just on how to market and promote your online courses. Well, the way that you test interest is you go out there and you interview people. You do that customer discovery I was talking about. And I don't want this to be a pitch fest or anything, but I do have a customer discovery program that you can go through on your own if that's something you would like and are interested in. You can contact me. I'll give my email here in a second. But even when you do put stuff out there for free, this is something else people wonder. Well, if you can go get the information for free, why would they ever buy my program? And the reason why is that there's a great commercial right now on YouTube for guitar players saying, here's one of the biggest reasons we found that people fail to learn the guitar is they try to learn it for free. And yeah, you could find all the videos online to teach you how to play guitar, but it's not the same as sitting down with somebody in a room who's teaching you, or going through a structured course that says this first and then this and then this and then we're going to do, and gives you those milestones, right? So that's my answer to that question. What's the best way to attract customers for startup building advisory? I'm not sure if I understand the last part of that question for startup building advisory. Best way to attract customers. I would love to be able to help you, but we just don't have the time. That's, I guess I should check back into here with Roxy. I notice it's 3:50 now. We might need to, I'm not sure if we've got a few more minutes or if we want to wrap this up.
If we could wrap up, sorry, Jason, there's so much good information flowing here, but yes, if you could wrap up, that would be wonderful.
Okay, awesome. So, let's see here. So, you know what? I want to be able to answer your questions. So if you, and I just noticed, I finally got to your direct message to me. We need to wrap up. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So here's the deal. I know some of you came in late and there was a lot of information. So I'm in the middle of preparing a new workbook. This is the first time I've offered this. These are worksheets that take you through ideal customer, their ideal outcome, all of these steps that we're talking about. And this is stuff I use with my clients and in my own programs. And I've decided to go ahead and put it together as a free workbook that you can get. You just go to this web address here, jasonvanorden.com/DCSW, for DC Startup Week 2021. That'll forward you over to a page, enter your name and email. And it's going to be ready, I think, later this week or first thing next week, and I'll get it to you as soon as that's ready. And so that'll allow you to get into action the stuff that we've been talking about today and be a kind of a review. I'm happy to send you the slides as well to go back through as well, if that would be helpful. If you have more questions about all of this, I'm sorry we didn't have more time for Q&A. I really wanted to get through the entire process for you with all the details that you needed. Feel free to reach out to me, jason@jasonvanorden.com. I'm absolutely happy to offer some more insights or answers to questions if you've got those. those. So I check my emails myself. I try to answer all of them as much as possible. So those are 2 resources for you to get some more help there. jasonvanorden.com/DCSW 2021 to get the free workbook that takes you through all 4 of the steps, or reach out to me with questions, jason@jasonvanorden.com.